Today we're going to do marker rendering on the gray Micentes paper. And there's a couple of important things that are going to be different about your experience drawing on these papers than the marker paper. One, it is a very toothy, fibrous texture. So you have to be careful about how hard you press your markers into the paper, because this paper will suck your markers dry. So you want to kind of go in with a light hand in terms of the markers. The other thing we have to consider when we're drawing on gray paper is that gray is a color that's going to mix with the colors in your markers. So that limits what we can do with the markers. On your cream Micentes paper for your living rooms, that won't be a problem. It will change the color a little bit, but actually kind of just makes it a little golden and makes it look really nice. But on the gray, it's hard to do very much light work. So unlike other times when I say that to render any surface, you want a dark, a medium, and light of a similar color or a similar hue, for the gray paper drawings, we just need two. A dark and a medium. And for the chair, I'm going to use my spring green and a dark green. You can use whatever colors you want as long as you have a dark and a medium of it. For the table, I'm going to use a dark and a medium brown. For the chair legs and the lamp post, I'm going to try and render that to look like chrome. So I'll use gray markers for that. Let's see, is there anything else I want to do before I start? No. So unlike when we use marker paper, we're going to do a lot more with colored pencils to really good effect. This paper really lends itself to that. So I'm going to start really simply right now by coloring in my entire chair and ottoman with my spring green. If you're using a different set of colors, go in with the medium color, not the dark one. I'm going to let that be for a second. And I'm going to go in with my sienna brown and color my table, the whole thing. Maybe I'll leave that center part a little bit blank for now. Now I'm going to move to the chrome, and I'm going to take my Cool Gray 50 and color that all in. Do the same here. go back into my chair, and this time I'm going to go in with my dark green. In this case, it's just called dark green. I'm going to go into all the spots where the light isn't going to reach. So our light source is here, right? So this will be pretty light, so will this, and this. But it's going to be pretty in here, but it's going to be pretty dark in here, and under here, and under here. So that's where I'm going to focus my dark green. I'm going to let that rest for a second, and then I'm going to take my dark brown, my dark umber, and I'm going to go back in on the table. So I'm going to go, so if the light's coming down here, I'm going to go to the sides where I think the light's not going to reach on my table legs, probably this whole side. And that underneath part. I'm going to take my sienna again, and I'm going to go over all those parts again and kind of blend that out a little bit. And this time I'll go across the middle. Okay, I'm going to take my spring green again, and I'm going to blend out the chair a little bit more. And I'm going to go in with my Cool Gray 70 into my chrome, and I'm going to use my fine tip for that. And I'm going to underline some of the parts, and also chrome reflects in a way that kind of makes it look striped with very dark black going to very white. So I'm going to consider that while I'm coloring these. I'm going to do the same over here. kind of gotten a little crooked there, but if you want to use a straight edge to do that kind of thing, I might recommend it. I'm a little bit sloppy here. Okay. I'm going to leave the lamp shade for last because I want to talk to you about how to make something really light like that. But now that I'm at this point, now I'm going to go in with pencils and do most of the detailing work with pencils. So I've got a dark green pencil, a dark brown pencil, a white pencil, and a black pencil. There's a technique for if you want to use, you want a lighter color and you don't have the marker for it, where you can put a layer of colorless blender on there, and then go over with like a lavender or pink colored pencil. And I'm showing you this technique even though I only asked you to get a few of the colored pencils, so if you don't have a bunch of the other ones, it might not be that accessible to you. But I was thinking we'd meet in class, and I have all of them, so I figured you wouldn't have to buy them. But I'll show you just in case you have them when we get to the lampshade. So first I'm going to go in with my dark green into my chair. And I'm going to go in and give it a little bit of detail. Remember, not a whole contour line that goes around the whole thing, just a few. Now if I want to give this chair some texture, I'm going to do with my my colored pencil some, I want this to be fabric, some cross contour line work with the colored pencil. I do not need to do this to the whole thing. I can do it to strategic parts of the thing just to sort of give the impression. I'm going to do a little bit of it here. And remember, hatching with cross contour lines adds not just texture but a roundness to it as well. Now I'm going to go in with my white, and I'm going to put the highlights in with my white pencil. So I would do here, I would do a little bit here, some up here, some along the seams, and when you use the colored pencil on this paper with the marker, the colored pencil comes out looking so pretty, like almost like pastels or chalk or something like that. So you can play around with your highlights, you know, how much or little you want to do, as long as it corresponds with the light source. I think right here. So I think that's all I'll do for highlights on the chair. Now I'm going to work on the table again, and you can see my table got a little bit out of whack because I let my markers bleed. So at this stage, if that happens to you, go ahead and take a straight edge and tidy up those lines. I'm not gonna, because I don't work really well with a straight edge. So, but I'm gonna take my dark brown pencil and I'm gonna give this table a little more structure. So now I'm going to do something. I know I didn't tell you to get like an orange or gold pencil, but I'm going to show you what you can do to make like reflective surfaces. So I've got this goldenrod pencil. I'm going to, where the light's hitting that table, I'm going to give it a reflection. And then if I want to make it look more like wood, I can go back in with my wood grain, do something like that. The other thing I can do on there is with my white pencil, I can suggest some reflections down here into the table as well. Alright, now I'm going to go back into my chrome, and here I'm going to take my black pencil and I'm going to go to all the places that there's no light, just to give it a little structure. And then the last thing I'm going to do on my chrome legs is go in with my white, where there's reflection. You can also do this with a gel pen. Gel pens look really, really nice on this paper as well, if you have one. I just like working with the pencils though. Alright, I'm going to do the same for the lamppost, so I'm going to, such as it is. And then I'm going to go back in with white. Okay. So that's pretty much good. You could always go back in with a micron pen and add some details. One of the things, if you and don't worry, I'm still going to do lampshade, but if you know, I like you to have things in your room that make it look like it's personal, like a pet or a vase or some books. If you got through your entire color rendering, you didn't include any of that, one thing you can do, and this looks kind of cool, is you can just make ghost images with your micron pens. So I'm going to do martini glass, and then maybe a napkin underneath it. And you could even dress that up a little bit with your green marker for the olive. But that's always a strategy to add some things. Like you could do that with books or a vase or a chest or something like that. Okay, so for the lampshade, right? I know it's our inclination to color light like the sun. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to put a layer of colorless blender. I'll let that dry a little bit. And I'll go back in and put some shadows in while I let that dry. So I'm going to go in with my Cool Gray 50 and decide where the shadows are going to be. I'll give it a little chain and maybe a cord. You don't have to do that if you don't want. Alright, so now I've let my my marker layer dry on the lampshade, and I'm going to go in with my white pencil and I'm going to give it a really bright spot in the middle. And then you can come in with any other color you want, like brown or gold or something like that. I'm going to start with my brown, and I'm just going to give the outside. And then maybe I'll come in with the gold here, just for fun. So remember, treating it like a cylinder, so it gets darker as it wraps around, and it gets lighter sort of in the center. So that's how you do that. And I will tell you, I realized that I've made you buy a big sheet of this paper, and normally we would do more than one of these if we were in class. But one thing that people love is if you were, say, give your mom or your grandma or your uncle or something a picture drawn on this of some part of their house. I did that for Christmas one year. Oh my gosh, they love it. So paper is so lovely. It makes really great gifts if you are inclined to give someone a gift of drawing. All right. Looking forward to seeing you. Bye.